Nobody tells you this when you start a music school, but one of the hardest challenges you'll face has nothing to do with teaching. It's figuring out how to hire and manage other people to teach. Today on Rock School Proprietor Podcast, Mandy and I are getting honest about our hiring mistakes, the emotional weight that comes with being responsible for other people's livelihoods, and the massive mindset shift required when you go from being a teacher to being a leader. We're talking about anticipating growth, setting clear expectations, and why planning ahead makes all the difference when you're building a team. This one is messy and honest, but full of lessons we've learned the hard way. Stay tuned. I want to talk real quick about instructor training. Training is incredibly time-consuming, and it's actually something I used to avoid because of it. I'd hire a new guitar instructor and basically cross my fingers, hoping for the best. That strategy, or lack of strategy, just wasn't sustainable. My goal now is providing staff with the right tools to teach effectively and feel confident. When I published Complete Guitar Strumming, I did all the hard, time-consuming work in the front end. Along with the book, I've created a free instructor companion guide and training videos to help new instructors learn the material quickly and teach with confidence. These are the exact same training tools I use, and anyone using the book gets access to them. So you don't need to spend hours training your guitar instructors. I've done the heavy lifting for you. Visit rockschoolproprietor.com/book for all the details. Welcome to Rock School Proprietor Podcast. My name's John Kazicki.
And I'm Mandy York.
And Mandy, we are talking about hiring again on this episode.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We did a hiring episode. Geez, I should have looked it up. I normally will look up what the episode numbers are when we talk about kind of something similar from a previous episode. We did talk about hiring. I don't remember what it is, what episode
Feels
number
like it's been a while.
It was a while, but we're going to take kind of a slightly different bent on the topic today. I think the last time we talked about it, it was more about, hey, here's some things that like you should think about. And again, I don't remember exactly, but this time we're going to talk about, well, you're going to talk about mistakes that you feel you've made hiring. And I'm going to talk about things that I learned but didn't expect to learn after I started hiring. So I'm basically putting myself into that position of like when I was a solo instructor transitioning into hiring my first few instructors and staff members and talk about that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
So
we talk about hiring a lot.
Yeah, well, I know I'm in the middle of doing some hiring, and I think you also are.
I am. Yeah, we're growing, so I'm bringing on another teacher, and it's a big deal. We talk about it a lot because it's so important, right? As small business owners, like this business is our baby, really important to us. We serve kids, so there's that aspect. My students they're my kids. They're really important to me, and I want to provide the best instructors for them. I just feel like there's a lot of pressure when it comes to hiring.
I think there's the pressure that I feel is when we are hiring, specifically for instructors, it is, yes, it's hiring, but we're service providers. We run service businesses. So when we are hiring, it's almost like we're sourcing our products, right? Because we're not like retail where it's like, okay, here's this thing that you're going to sell. Yeah, you're going to have to learn a little bit about it, but you're also going to have to learn just how to sell it. Our instructors, when we hire, are our products.
Yes,
essentially.
That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when we are hiring, we're not just hiring for tasks. I mean, yes, there are tasks involved, but there's something more. And I think that's where that additional pressure comes from, at least for me.
Yeah. No, I feel that. Okay.
I was thinking about, oh, sorry. Do you have more?
No, go ahead. What are you thinking about? No, go ahead.
Well, what I was thinking about was, I'm trying to, again, putting myself back into that mind space or that headspace where I was when I first started hiring. And well, actually, you know what? Let's talk about your stuff first, because I think yours in terms of timeline is, hey, here are all these mistakes I feel like I've made
Yeah.
hiring over the course of, a decade.
Yep. Let me just put it out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what I have in mind right now is these early years when I first started hiring.
Okay.
And I should say for myself, maybe a small business, a piano teacher perhaps can relate to this where I kind of thought it was just going to be me,
Hmm.
some piano teachers just have their studio, whatnot. I didn't expect to grow as big as I did. And I kind of just expected it would just be me and I'd teach as much as I could. But the demand was there. And,
Yes.
which is great. It's a great thing
Hmm.
when you have to hire. And I quickly learned that not just to hire instructors, but also like admin too,
Hmm.
which would take the pressure off me so that I could do the thing that I love, which is teaching, being in the classroom as much as possible. Now, so I would say it kind of snuck up on me. And one of the first lessons I learned was that, like, I waited too long. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I was like, "Oh, we're really growing. The wait list is, like, increasing every month. Like, I need to be thinking about hiring now, or I should have been thinking about hiring sooner because your workload is, you're almost at capacity and you've gotta figure out, when to fit in interviews and things like that."
Yeah.
So I think one mistake I made, one thing I wish I would have done was to have the foresight to think like, okay, these numbers are moving in this direction. Maybe I would like to expand and start looking and, starting that hiring process sooner.
It's
And that's
so
something I
hard.
have learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's so hard to put yourself into the future in that situation,
Yes.
right? Because you're talking about future growth. Like, this is unexplored territory, right? And
Mhm.
so it's hard to put yourself in the headspace of where you will be and how you will manage in uncharted territory, right? And like I'm actually experiencing that a little bit right now, looking to bring on like more admin help, like in addition to, right? And so, which is like, I've never done that before. So it's hard for me to think about, well, what is it going to look like? And instead I'm thinking things like, these are the things I would have that additional admin focus on. This is going to be additional cost for me based on like, this hourly rate and expected hours per week. So I'm thinking about those things and not necessarily thinking about how this could potentially change for the better.
Yeah, yeah.
What's going to happen? Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. So having that foresight, it is really difficult, but that's one thing that a mistake I made, and I think I'm better about it now, 10 years later. I can see because we've all got turnover. I
Hmm.
can see that as, someone leaves, I'm not immediately just redistributing their class load to the rest of us and saying, "Oh, we can manage. This is gonna be fine."
Yeah.
No, get someone else in the works right away. Like, yeah. Kind of along those same lines, I felt like I rushed my hiring process early on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What's the saying? Hire slow, fire quickly.
Ah, there you go. I
Yeah.
mean, hire slow, that's right. Because the need was there and I was just in a rush to fill it, I don't think I made the best hires early on.
Which is related to your
Um,
first one, which is you felt like you waited too long,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you wait too long and then you feel like, "Oh, I've got to hire."
Yes.
Mm.
And again, going back to what I said at the very beginning, there's a lot of pressure and this is our product. So I take a lot more time than I used to vetting teachers. I do more like I reach out, like who do I know that might have some good connections? I personally reach out to different people, have conversations, more than just one, interview with
Yeah.
a person. And I take my time really explaining the position so that these candidates have a full understanding of what we expect, what's required of them. I was telling you before, like, I almost sometimes feel like I'm trying to scare them away. Like, that's extreme, but
Like,
just really let them
you don't
know.
want this job. You don't want it. No, I do want this job. Yeah, you want them to beg for it.
There you go. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
You lay it all out. This is what it is. Everything from, a menial task that you're going to expect them to do every week,
Mhm.
the really rewarding stuff. This is how we do it, and this is what we expect. To pay. Like,
Mhm.
is this? I want this job to be a really good fit for this candidate.
Yeah.
I want them to really want it. So those are the big things I learned in the beginning. Mistakes that I made and now I feel I do a better job than I used to.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Boy, I've made tons of mistakes hiring. But luckily, I'm not gonna share those on this episode. I'll have to share that at a different time. When when I first started hiring, I I had opened my studio as a solo instructor
Mhm.
and teaching guitar. I was teaching a few bass lessons, and I was only doing that for a few months because I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to make it a bigger studio. I wanted to offer drum lessons and voice lessons and keyboard lessons in the bands, as I've mentioned many times.
Okay, so you had that foresight
But
right in the beginning.
well,
You had
yeah,
your plan.
that's what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do that. And my means to kind of get it started was I'm first just going to start teaching on my own. And so after a few months, I decided, okay, now it's time. I've got this other space that I'm going to be moving into that's going to accommodate more variety in what I can offer. And I decided my first hire was going to be a drum instructor. So I placed ads and did interviews and I hired him. And that was about it. And then I started, like, had already hired him. And then I thought about, I don't have student policies. I haven't established any sort of timeline for pay or any process for that. I haven't made any sort of like standardized system to track attendance. I don't have any of that in place. There were all these things like who's going to be communicating with the students and the parents? Is it me? Is it him? Is it like a combination of both of us? Do I need to get him like a company email address? Like what what kind of additional insurance do I need? Like none of that. I didn't think about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so like in the spirit of my approach to this conversation, what I guess going to talk about is more about the things that I wish someone had told me when I was there, you know,
Mhm.
or even the things I wish someone had told me in the first few years even of hiring, because I just sort of rushed right into it, not even really thinking about, well, what are the consequences of this action that I'm taking? I saw the end result, right? I need a drum instructor so I can do these other things. And that was my goal. And so cool, accomplished. But what does that mean now? Because I went from being a solo instructor where it's just me to all of a sudden I have this other person
Mhm.
and there is responsibility that comes along with that. So yeah, I've got like 5 things that I want to kind of focus that are really things that like kind of shifted my mindset, I think. Again, things I wish someone had told me in those early years. First, when I hire another teacher, I became more than just a teacher myself, right?
Yeah.
So I was a teacher, and I think what I thought was going to happen was, oh, I'm going to hire another instructor, and I'll probably have to, take on a little bit additional admin work. But my purpose for it was to, again, offer more lessons, a different variety of lessons. But I also thought like, oh, I've got this space. I can hire another instructor. I can make some extra money,
Mhm.
And so I think picking up that additional administrative stuff was not that big a deal, at least in my head. But then it started to compound, right? And like what actually happened was I spent less time, I think, teaching and more time thinking. Like I
Mhm.
wasn't, thinking about different things, like thinking about all those other things that I had mentioned before about like insurance and like how do you contact people and all this other stuff. I spent way more time on scheduling and communication and decision making and problem solving than I anticipated I was going to spend, right? Because I also thought, all right, well, I'm already doing my own admin. So, yeah, I'll have a little bit more admin to do. No big deal. It's the same stuff, but it's not. It just compounds. And then I moved from teaching and some admin, right, to also supporting this other instructor. And that was kind of the first time, we got him in the studio and like I started doing all this stuff. And that was the first time I thought, this feels a little bit different, than my
Mhm.
job as a solo teacher. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Supporting the teachers, yeah.
Yeah, it
It's
it just
yeah,
felt all
because
of a
sudden
sudden like, okay, I'm not a teacher anymore, which is where my identity was.
yeah, yeah. But you're teaching teachers, that's kind of a or it's like a mentorship role almost. That's how I feel about it with my teachers, but it's a job, like, kind of supporting their learning, their teaching, and making sure that, like you said, their product is what you want it to be.
Yeah, that's kind of on my list too, but that didn't happen right away.
Yeah,
At least
yeah.
not for me, you know? So, the next thing I that sort of was like this realization for me was that I was no longer responsible for just myself, but I was responsible for someone else, and that's again me slowly inching toward what you were just talking about that mentorship thing, right? So it really hit me that someone else's livelihood now is partly my responsibility. Someone else's calendar and schedule is my responsibility. And just the weight of that felt way bigger than just like me teaching and like, yeah, okay, I signed a lease, right? So that felt different too. But I would say that the realization that I now had someone else working for me felt heavier than being on the hook for a lease, you know?
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't Is it just
That's
me?
that's well, I think it's a kind of your personality a little bit, you
Okay.
know? I think,
Did you
um,
not feel that?
I mean, I understand what you mean about, like, having that responsibility and that weight. I don't think I would call it a weight, but you know me, like, you're talking about policies and procedures and everything you need to have in place in order to make this business work with multiple employees.
Mhm.
Like, I love that stuff. I have my like, it is there. Like,
Yeah,
okay, to my employees, if you need to know this, this is where you look, and this is where your time card
yeah,
is, and this is how we do so,
right.
I think I understand what you're saying, and I feel that, like, responsibility for my teachers. It feels like it was probably heavier for you, though.
Oh, sure. Well, and, like, I had none of that stuff in place. Like, nothing, nothing. Like, I got a student policy together before he started. You
Yeah,
know? That's it, because I didn't
check.
even have one beforehand, right? It was just, like, me talking with the clients. So, yeah, that was heavy. Okay, number 3 on my list. There's this trajectory, I'm sort of you can see the story happening and unfolding, but number 3 is I became a manager whether I wanted to or not. And
Yeah.
maybe embarrassingly, I don't think I even like considered myself a manager in the truest sense of like taking ownership of that role. Couple years,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were just
Um,
hiring coworkers?
I really was. I was, and one thing I feel like I've always been kind of good at when it came to, or when it comes to hiring and hiring instructors, is hiring for culture. Like really having that conversation with this other musician about what they're into and what their thoughts on learning music is all about. And I feel like that's always something I've had a good sense of. So when I was hiring instructors in those early days, I was leaning way into that. Okay, I'm going to find someone who I want to be in a band with, or who I would be in a band with.
Mhm.
And usually that stuff translated to they are an engaging instructor and they're like dedicated to what their students are doing, and it, it they were able to make that connection with students. And so
Mhm.
that's huge. But because of that, I never even thought about like, well, are they going to need any sort of guidance?
Mhm.
Are they going to need me to like step up and be a manager? So I guess what I'm saying is that in those early days of hiring, I think what I was seeking growth for the studio.
Mhm.
I wasn't seeking a leadership role, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think that goes along with what I was saying too. Waiting too late, hiring too quickly, just out of
Mhm.
necessity.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't considering like, yeah, this was making me a leadership role, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think I resisted that for a long time.
Mhm.
The Because I think it did need to be that mindset shift. For so long I still was, hey, I'm like, I'm one of these people, right? These people are one
Mhm.
of me. We're all like the same. We're all teaching music. And again, in those early days, I still was teaching a lot. So it felt more like we were contemporaries.
Mhm.
And I had to kind of flip a switch in my brain and say, like, oh, I have to manage. I have to like,
Yeah.
I have to do more than just hang out and talk music with these people. I have to provide feedback, I have to set standards for what we're trying to do. And that that was a real eye-opening experience for me, but it wasn't like all of a sudden. It was like this slow progression.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
All right, number
Mhm.
4 on my list. Oh boy, I couldn't just wing it anymore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because someone is watching you and someone is learning from you, and
Yeah,
I
and
I get that.
musicians, at least the musicians that I hang around with, love to wing it. They love to
Mhm.
improvise. And
Yeah.
a and I think, that'll only get you so far, but when it comes to you being the business owner, like, as the solo instructor, I could change my mind anytime I wanted to, right?
Mhm.
I could shift gears. If there was something wrong, I could just kind of fix it on the fly and,
Mhm.
again, just wing it. I could rely on intuition,
Mhm.
but with employees, they need that clear, like, "Okay, this is what's gonna happen." They need those clear expectations, right?
Mhm.
I I mean, going back to that leadership idea, if, you know, if I was gonna follow someone or if I'm being led by someone and they're like, "I don't know how we're gonna do this, but we're gonna figure it out as we go."
Yeah.
It doesn't instill a whole lot of confidence,
Right. Mhm.
So, it forced me to sort of look at what I was doing and how I did it and deconstruct that and then break it down for other people and say, like, "Here's what we're doing, and this is why we're doing it," and have that big picture.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. And for me, that looked like like planning ahead, planning earlier and sharing lesson plans and things.
yeah.
Because, we've been doing this a long time and we can effectively, quote unquote, wing it, right? We,
Oh, sure.
for sure. But, but no, you don't want that to be what your teachers are seeing. And I found, when when my teachers are relying on me and they're still maybe in learning mode, like it's good for me, like to be planning ahead more and giving a little bit more thought to like the activities that I'm planning for my classroom too.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing.
Well, yeah, and I think there's again, and I can say for me, it's it's this difference between what my role is or what my roles are. Like I can still wing it as an instructor. Okay,
Yes.
whatever. We'll figure
Yeah.
this out, on the
Yeah.
fly. Okay, this isn't working. Let's shift. No big deal, right?
Mhm.
But as a business owner, as a manager, as a leader, that winging it just doesn't feel secure.
No. No.
Hey, am I getting paid this month? You know? Oh, yeah, maybe
Exactly.
so.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thanks for the reminder.
right, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly, does not instill confidence. Alright, number 5. This one was I think this one's subtle, but really significant. I just I just stopped being the business, meaning, like, that identity of the business is essentially me.
Mhm.
And I had to start being the owner of the business, if that makes sense,
It does. Yes.
right? They're
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
again, so subtle, but as a solo instructor or as a solopreneur, those, I guess those personality traits and the business are just so tightly wound up. There's no real like pulling them apart. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, John's music school or whatever.
Mhm.
But hiring people and having a staff, it it's no longer just I am the business, but like I have to take ownership of this bigger thing, right? This bigger
Mhm.
thing that like my identity shifted. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
It does, yeah, I get it. When it was just me, I felt like it was like the Miss Mandy show all the time, right?
Yeah.
Same thing, like you said, when you bring people on, you do shift into that more like ownership role, manager role. Now, I still teach a lot, so the Miss Mandy show is still happening,
Mhm.
but I need to bring the other teachers into the fold because it's no longer just mine, it's theirs too, and
Right.
you want your clients to, like, have as much respect and love for those instructors as they do for you. You want them to be successful.
Yeah. And those same bonds that you make with your students and clients and that I made with my students and my clients, all my other instructors are making those types of bonds, right? But those are like
Yeah.
completely independent. Like those are completely separate of me, So
Mhm.
it's not just me, the business anymore, but it's me, the owner of the business, and we have to kind of let those things like flourish and thrive.
Yeah.
That
That's a
I,
really cool thing.
it
Like, that's
is.
exciting. Mhm.
But I mean, I can see where. Okay, so I remember also when I brought on an intern slash student instructor
Mhm.
to do some teaching for me, and then also when I made my first admin hire. I remember instances where I was in a lesson with a student, so I was still teaching at the time. I was in a lesson with a student, and I would hear them working on something, right? Whether that's my student instructor working with another student or maybe my admin answering a phone and listening to what was going on,
Mhm.
completely taking myself out of what I should have been focused on, which is the student, right?
Yeah.
My attention was distracted. And I realized in that moment, like, this is not okay. I can't maintain my focus and give my attention to my students in the manner that they need, and also be thinking about or trying to think about, well, what feedback do I need to give to this new admin, or my student instructor? That
Mhm.
that distraction was real. And it also goes back to, well, how are you going to train these people? How are you going to have systems in place so that they do have autonomy and they can flourish in their own environment, right? But
Mhm.
again, related to me not being the business anymore. It's like having
Yeah.
to be the owner of the business.
Yes, which can feel a little scary, but,
Mhm.
but what I was trying to say and convey is, how beautiful, though, you created it, you're the owner, and look at how many kids you're reaching, and through music and the relationships and that they're making and the things that they're doing. So, it's
I
scary, but,
love that.
remember that and celebrate that,
Yeah.
be proud of that.
Yeah, and I think to piggyback on that idea, that also needs nurturing, right?
Mhm.
It's not like you give these people responsibility and it grows like weeds or
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
You want to nurture it, and you want to. I'm thinking of Michael Hemsworth and his analogies, but you want to grow that garden, so it
Yeah.
flourishes. So that takes some nourishment too. I think it's still something that it's both freeing but uncomfortable at the same time,
Sure.
you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there you go. Those are my 5. Was that
I
way deeper than
Right.
you expected?
I mean, I wasn't expecting 5. That's great. I think that those are so relatable. I get I get all of those points that you made.
It's weird because I
Same here.
really, I wanted to give real, hey, what are real advice to listeners? Like, hey, this is what you
Mhm.
should do. But it's more this transformation, I think. And again, these are the things that I wish someone would have told me, in those early days. Like,
Mhm.
oh, hey, you're going to be a manager now if you hire someone.
Mhm.
That's all it would have taken, is someone to say that to me. You're going to be a manager. You're going to be,
Yeah.
because then I'd be like, wait, what? What do you mean?
Mhm.
And then, oh, well, you're going to be responsible for these things. And that would have gotten my brain thinking, as opposed to me just sort of jumping in and being like, I'm going to hire someone.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a really good word, transformation.
Hmm.
You're transforming. No, that I would have benefited from hearing it put in those terms because as you mentioned earlier, it was like, well, I need to hire for growth. We need to grow. Grow,
Yes.
right? That's why
Yeah.
we're hiring. And then but along with that comes a transformation in how you view yourself, how you manage, how you do things in the
Yeah.
business.
Well, and
Yes.
it harkens back to the episode we talked about, like, are you a technician? Are you an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
Are you a manager? Right. And
Mhm.
in that situation, like, okay, well, who am I hiring for? What can I take on this other role? Right.
Mhm.
I just sort of feel like I fumbled my way along until I found
Yeah.
what I was good at, and fixed things along the way. So,
Yeah.
well, yeah, there
And
you
we
go.
do that too. We all I mean, I thought it was interesting to hear you talk about how oh, what did you say earlier? Not having a plan as far as how to, train and nurture your teachers. But,
Yeah.
you're so good at that now. You know,
Well, eh,
you
yeah, I mean,
figure
I
it
think
out.
I have systems and processes in place
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But man, literally, I did not have a single thing in place when I made that first hire, you know?
Mhm.
It was literally just like I'd hired him and I was like, "Oh, I should probably have a student policy
Yeah.
to
Yep.
protect his time," you know? But yeah, that was also, all of that is years and years in the making.
Mhm. Cool.
So let's wrap this one up then,
Yeah.
and we'll see you next time.
Sounds great. Thanks, John.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
If you have topic suggestions or questions, please contact us at info@rockschoolproprietor.com. We'd love to hear from you and hear suggestions for future shows. We've put together some free resources for teachers and studio owners over at rockschoolproprietor.com and a private Facebook group called The Modern Music School. Please join us over there. On social, I'm at rock.school.proprietor on Instagram and John Kazicki on both LinkedIn and Blue Sky. Your ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify are always appreciated. And if you enjoyed the show and gain insight from our conversation, then we count that as a win. All we ask in return is that you pay it forward, and please share the show with someone you think needs to hear it.